This is the Sports Lounge. Nathan Stacken, our resident alcoholic here, just sipping on anything he can get his mouth around after having
This
his
is
kid.
Orange Julius. Let's
Orange
be real.
Julius with some of the old
With something
vodka.
else inside it.
Vodka, heavy on the vodka. Go Buffalo Bills. They scored multiple points today. Wasn't enough.
They covered.
They covered.
They scored 3 points and they covered.
They covered the 9. Very good Buffalo Bills. This is Lounge 236. This is the first one of the year. And since Stack and we know the anniversary of this incarnation is January 18th of 2010, we're 2 years away from a decade. So there you go.
Which I believe happens to be one Travis Grinz's birthday.
Yes, congratulations to me as well for a birthday. Marcus Traxler is here, and Mr. Selleck here as well. The phone, yeah, I see the phone doesn't have a cord on it, and he appears to be on the beach.
The mustache is the cord that was its own wireless signal from 35 years ago.
It makes sense. It is when you say
that watch waterproof? That's why there's the ocean in the background, because the salt water helps generate the more connectivity. But is the watch waterproof? The watch is whatever you need it to be. Let's try not putting too much thought into it.
The ocean is watch-proof, is what it is. Wild card playoffs were this week. Saturday, not good. This afternoon, also not good. Last game,
it was good.
It was weird.
It was close, and it was still kind of entertaining too. But I would agree that all in all, it wasn't really good either.
Boy, those first 2.5 hours, you had to get through those first 2.5 hours to get to the good stuff at the end. So it's
that Jim Nantz and Tony Romo were sitting there saying,
"What are we
Why
doing?
the hell are we doing Bills Jaguars?"
And then they looked at their bank account and said, "Yep, we'll do it again next week. Let's go."
I noticed that, especially in the open when they were trying to set up, the teams and the storylines. Jim Nantz is kind of like, "What the hell? We're doing a wild card game in Jacksonville. We'll be right back." And it's pretty funny, just the fact that like Crin said, they probably shook their heads on the flight to Jacksonville, and then looked at the bank account and said, "Yeah, okay, this is fine." So,
Again, how did they get this game and not Kansas City? How was Buffalo Jacksonville not the first game?
I don't know.
Stunned.
The Bills have a better, so the NFL said we want the Bills on Sunday.
We want that Toronto market that doesn't count. That's what we want.
And to be fair to the Jaguars, I mean, the Bills were the longest drought of the teams in the playoff. The Jaguars had the second longest drought, right? I think everyone else has made it since like 2010.
I think part of it maybe is just that the Bills Jaguars would be so obvious for being the ESPN game that they just wanted to switch it up or mess with people. So
fuck them around. So Bills lose to Bottles 10-3. They went for it on 4th down. It was 4th and goal from the 1, and that's how they scored their 1 touchdown. Bottles had 87 yards, a vintage Bottles performance if there ever was one.
And 88 yards rushing.
It was tremendous. I saw a stat stacking. He was the first player ever to have first quarterback ever to have more rushing yards than passing yards in a win involving someone who didn't beat their dog. Because Michael Vick did that, but we of course.
Was that on Blake Bortles Facts?
I believe that was under the Bottles Facts. Yes, one of the better Twitter accounts right there. Marcus, what did you make of this shit show? This lived up to the hype. This over-delivered, I would even say.
I thought it was great. I mean, I thought that the fact that the first 6 possessions of the game, there were punts, not even close to any sort of drives being put together. We said that as soon as there would be a turnover, that's when you get a score. And what do the Jaguars do? They run 3 plays, they back up 5 yards, and they got a punt. So.
And they passed it.
The phone's 38.
Yeah, they get the they say, all right, look for the turnover. There's a tipped pass. Jacksonville intercepts it around the 35. First one's a run for nothing. They do a little screen on the left, I think, to a tight end. They lose yards. They do another screen on the left to nobody in particular. There's like 9 Bills in the screen against one guy that I think it was an incomplete pass. So they lose like 3-5 yards on the deal and have to punt. So awful game. Charlie, they ended up scoring the touchdown because they had to go for it. They didn't have to. They just chose to go for it on 4th down. Would you have done that? I would have kicked it because in a game like this, 3 points would have done it, and the Bills didn't get any closer to kicking a game-tying field goal. It did work out. Would you have had the stones to go for 4th and goal from the 1 in a 3-3 game late in the 3rd or whenever the hell it was?
In a playoff game with Blake Bortles as my quarterback, no, I would not have had the stones to go for it. I also would have kicked the field goal, and it is funny to think if they would not have completed that, they potentially could still be playing right now. They'd be like, yeah, I don't know, neither of these teams can score or move the ball.
Neither team really got close to scoring after that. Neither team really did. Stacking.
The big storyline of this, though, is that they actually had the confidence in Blake Bortles to throw it on 4th down from the 1, and he completed it.
He did.
He almost overthrew the guy. It was an 11-yard pass. He almost overthrew him. Some
tight end back of the end zone. He got it. Stacking, you've been a big Buffalo Bills guy through the years. You've touted the Bills recently. It appears.
Circles the wagon on this panel, like
nobody inseminates folks like Mr. Stacking. We know this. We got proof for this. It seems like they hate their quarterback, Tyrod Taylor. They hate him for numerous reasons, which are he's not great. I don't even say maybe he's not even good, but he's a lot better than the backup. This Peterman gentleman comes in and fuck, man. He hasn't played a lot. I was looking at his deal. He actually played more than I thought. He played like in 4 or 5 games, throwing like 8 to 10 passes. He's thrown 6 interceptions in his career. He's thrown 50 passes. Not a great ratio right there. But I don't believe he'll be back next year. But this Peterman looks like he's never played a football in his life.
Yeah, he's not very good. Honestly, Sean McDermott could have been fired after deciding to start him instead of Tyrod Taylor against the Chargers. What was that, back in October, November? But I think, they do have Kansas City's first-round draft pick this year.
Along with their own?
We'll see if Baker Mayfield slides down to him. I think we'll see if, I don't know if that's a great fit. Maybe Mason Rudolph
they need
from
somebody.
Oklahoma State.
They need somebody.
They will be drafting a quarterback in the first round. I like Tyrod Taylor for obvious reasons, but I don't know why they have such an infatuation with trying to discard him. He does a lot of good stuff, and unfortunately today, he's going against arguably a top 2 defense in the NFL, and I don't think LaShawn McCoy
maybe the best defense.
That could be. LaShawn McCoy was not fully healthy, but he was, decent.
He was the best player they had.
So, he was the best offense they had. They just don't have any wide receivers. Zay Jones could potentially be something. Kelvin Benjamin, sure, he's fine.
And they trade Sammy Watkins to the Rams. Because, let's get rid of our best receiver. I like that Buffalo's in it, but I don't know if they tried to fucking win this year. But they somehow won 9 games.
No, they did try and win this year. Yet somehow they backed their way into the playoffs.
They benched their quarterback right in the middle of the season for no reason. They get rid of their best receiver for no reason. They were in the mix all year long. And fuck.
The best part of this game was when they talked about all the Bills fans. Well, yeah, when it was over. But when they were talking about Bills fans donating to Andy Dalton's foundation. That's the best part of this game.
The best. Marcus.
I would say that, some of the stuff that was just laid out there by Stacking would be the rationale on why you would get rid of Sean McDermott. Now, I feel like it's probably the case that they're not going to. But if I would just say, and I'm going to take my position here as a Mason Rudolph guy ahead of the draft. I think he would be a decent option. I don't know if he would be for the Bills. Probably not. But
is he better than what they got?
He is better than what they got. They kind of mentioned Andy Dalton. Trade for Andy Dalton. I would say that he would be an upgrade over what they've had, even though the Bengals are sort of disenchanted with him. I like the option of trying to get I mean, you've got all these teams that are trying to get rid of quarterbacks. We're going to talk about Kansas City, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And it seems like Alex Smith is going to be out the door. Maybe it makes more sense to take a guy from somewhere else rather than a 3-year project at quarterback. Even though there are, I think, a few guys who are options in this year's draft. We'll see.
Real quick on quarterbacks for the Bills. Stacken mentioned Baker Mayfield. I don't know if or when Mayfield gets drafted, but I only want to see Baker Mayfield play for a decade for the Bills now as their starter. And I don't know why, but he just seems like the ultimate Bills quarterback, like chip on his shoulder, always kind of pissed, gets hurt and misses 3 games. They still make the playoffs, and then he does crotch jobs to the other team. And I just think that would work out perfect for the Bills and the Bills Mafia.
2 hours before the game, he's out in the parking lot going through a table on fire. I love that.
I mean, this shit.
I've seen draft projections. I think late him as like a potential late first round pick, early second. I've seen as high as 11, I think. But I mean, Kansas City's going to be what 20th, 21st, or Buffalo will be 21st, and Kansas City would be 22nd, 23rd. You're going to have 2 picks in the span of 3 or 4.
Kansas City doesn't need a quarterback because the idea is that Mahomes is the guy here.
No, Kansas City has Buffalo, or Buffalo has Kansas City's pick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. If you really are enchanted with it, like a Josh Allen, let's say, or a Josh Rosen, I mean, you could package those 2 together, but I think you also have a very good chance of landing either Rudolph or Mayfield there in the low 20s. I don't think they're both going to be off the board by that point.
There was a hell of a comeback in Kansas City. Kansas City loses, 6 home games in a row they've lost in the playoffs. The Vikings have some history. Kansas City's probably got...
Like Joe Montana is the last quarterback to win a home game for the Chiefs.
It's been 25 years. It's not good. Charlie, Alex Smith, he probably had the best year he's ever had. Alex Smith. I think he threw for the most yards, most touchdowns he's ever had. Pat Mahomes, he's going to be their guy. But what would you do with Alex Smith?
I would get rid of Alex Smith, and it's nothing personal against him. I think Alex Smith is an okay, solid NFL quarterback who you can kind of use as a Rorschach test for how good he is compared to other guys. Right. But I think, ultimately, Kansas City can't get over the hump, and as Smith gets older and older, I don't think he's the guy. I don't know if you can trade him and get a whole lot of value for him necessarily, but I think, and I don't know if Mahomes is going to be great or not, but with the guys they've got, they should aim higher than we're going to lose our first playoff game every single year.
What about what if Jacksonville gets on the phone and says, "Hey, we would like Alex Smith to be our quarterback"? That'd be a good idea for either side.
I think it'd be a good idea for Kansas City to deal him there. For Jacksonville, I think he would certainly be better than Blake Bortles, but I don't know. With that defense, they could maybe. You've quickly talked me into this, Krenz. I need to see Alex Smith as the Jaguars quarterback next
You're
year.
overlooking the more obvious choice, though, for the Jaguars quarterback next year.
Tim Tebow.
Eli Manning. Between the two, who would you rather have?
For funny's sake, I would much rather have Tebow.
No.
We're going to win games. I would take Manning, but I think he's only going to be there for 1 year.
Would you rather have Alex Smith or Eli Manning? It only took.
Do we still do that here?
It only took 15 minutes. Good.
I would say I think I might be in the minority here, but I would have Alex Smith over Eli.
I would take him a little younger, mobile. There's no reason why with Jacksonville's defense why they can't be the second best team in that conference.
There's a lot of talk about Eli Manning and for the Giants and what sort of problems the Giants had this year. I think Eli Manning
injuries.
I like him, but I think he was a lot of the problems they had. He's getting old. I don't know. I just don't.
I'm not necessarily saying that Eli Manning is the better option over Alex Smith, but just because Tom Coughlin is the vice president of football operations there, it's easier to connect the dots.
Mark Brunell.
Alex. Oh, yeah, well, that's true too. I mean, you may as well bring back Tony Baselli as well.
There you go.
Your guys' rationale has quickly changed my mind, and I would also take Alex Smith now, because if you can win a playoff game with Blake Bortles, they might be able to make the AFC title game with Alex Smith. I think they would run into a very hard ceiling there, but I think they could at least go further.
You never see I don't think in a given offseason you see 10 teams all take different quarterbacks from another team. But I think this could be one of those years, because you could have Kirk Cousins going somewhere else. Giants could take a quarterback off of somebody else. Jaguars, Bengals. Drew Brees could leave. It's not impossible. So I just think this could be a very interesting year for quarterbacks who are already in the league. Maybe swapping teams or moving around, which could be kind of fun.
Once Ryan Tannehill.
Well, Jay Cutler, I don't know if he wants to keep playing, but he'll be out there. So.
Good comeback for the Titans.
I can't wait for him and Sean McDonough to be in the Monday Night Football booth next year.
Jay Cutler. Oh my! Take a sip of Buffalo. So the Titans came back. Chiefs didn't do anything in that second half.
A sip of Buffalo, and it tastes like Buffalo too.
Didn't, yeah. Not good. Medium. 22-21, Tennessee wins. We'll forget about it tomorrow.
Marcus Mariota channeled his inner Brad Johnson.
He did.
That was awesome.
And
that's the game. That play changed the game.
Oh yeah. Jay Gruden even had it on his phone. You can see it right there. Brad Johnson, Jay Gruden, John Gruden on his phone. Best game was last game. Saints-Panthers. Saints almost shit their pants. Historically bad there. Mr. Stacking, 4th and 2 at the 50. I would have punted. Takes a lot of balls there. What is there? How much time was left? A minute and a half?
Yeah.
Minute and a half. They have.
The 2-minute warning.
Right after the 2 minutes.
Yeah, it was minute 50.
Yeah.
They have no timeouts left. So if you get it, you win. I'm sure Amon would say go for it, but fuck, that's a big difference giving them the ball at midfield or giving them the ball at the 10 or the 15. I would have punted. I didn't think they were going to go for it.
No, and it's a dumb decision because they go up to the line of scrimmage, and Drew Brees is trying to hard count the Panthers, make them jump off sides and calls a timeout. So I think everyone thought, okay, here's the punt team going to come out, and then they, for whatever reason, decide to come back out with the offense and throw it. And really, the Panthers cornerback should have just knocked it down, because that cost the Panthers some field position there.
What happened? This birthmark is still on his face, but it's not as prevalent, or maybe we just got used to it over the past 20 years. Talk to me about the skin here of Mr. Brees.
I can't imagine he's using makeup. I don't know if maybe he's just getting more wrinkly, and that's I don't know if that's having any sort of impact. I would agree. Yeah, I don't think about it or pay much attention to it anymore. But I'm sure they'll play the Vikings next week, and it'll jump out at me now that you mention it. So I would just like to make mark that they showed kind of the sky cam view, and it was Brees, Peyton, and then the punter Thomas Morstead all kind of standing there, and you could see Brees and Peyton were once having a conversation, and Morstad's just kind of standing there like, you bastards are really going to do this, aren't you? You're going to go for it, and they did, and it didn't work. So it was just kind of a funny, especially in retrospect now that they didn't get it. Funny that how that sort of played out.
Charlie Hildebrand.
Evan Funches could have just planted his foot.
Funches.
The Panthers would have.
Should have caught it. Charlie, were you surprised the Rams didn't show up yesterday?
I was at work, but I got a chance to see quite a bit of this game, and the whole time I was just kind of
waiting,
expecting for something to happen, and then the Rams were going to not blow them out, but just start doing things.
Points. Wow.
And for the most part, it just didn't really happen. Which kudos to the Falcons. They go on the road and win. I don't know if it's an incredibly difficult environment to win in Los Angeles, but they did still go cross country and beat them. So, I don't know. I was sitting here. I was hoping the Rams would win.
As was I.
I used to hate the Vikings. I don't hate the Vikings anymore. I'm kind of indifferent with them. And I was just thinking a potential. Texas is back. Nice little cliffhanger there.
Oh.
A potential Vikings-Rams playoff game I thought would have been quite entertaining.
Best
To
offense,
someone
best
who would
defense.
not have had a dog in either fight. And I've just been like, oh yeah, that'd be fun, and we can't get it now, and I'm kind of sad. But Saints-Vikings looks pretty good too.
Well, Farrell Cooper, he can be blamed for a couple of, well, not the first one. Not the first turnover, but, he had another fumble on a kickoff. So Rams special teams, anything but special last night. And also, I think the fans finally kind of sort of showed up, though, when they did the overhead view of the stadium. There was a huge chunk in, the right-hand corner that was completely empty. So 74,399 fans came. How many people can the Coliseum hold? 100,000?
Yeah, good
90,000.
90.
Okay, so good job, LA. Good job for getting all those fans in there.
It was
Really
good,
showing us something.
good to see.
I wanted to follow up on that because Al Michaels made the remark about how it was 90%
Cool.
Rams fan there, and then they showed one of the replays from the end zone, and the whole first row of fans was just all Falcons people. So it's well, the Falcons were the ones who bother to show the front row the 90% thing. It's you got two people in LA. For them, it's not their team. That gone.
It was really choppy for anybody else.
Drafted.
No, it's choppy for me as well.
Yeah.
I just don't see that ever really catching on. So I think it's tough when you pick up a next. Rams have moved around a lot, but especially for the Chargers, who were in San Diego for 50 years.
Falcons, Eagles. What was it, Saturday night? The one they played?
Saturday, first game, early afternoon.
First game on Saturday.
Does anyone expect the Eagles to win? Going into the
Maybe.
playoffs, before a single game was played on the NFC side, I thought I could see any of these teams making the Super Bowl in the NFC, except the Eagles.
I give them a better shot to beat the Falcons than I would probably any other team because the Falcons are the 6th seed for a reason. But no, I don't. I will still take the Falcons to win.
Defense is pretty good.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The Eagles' defense is pretty good. If they can somehow find a way to keep Atlanta to 13 to 17 points, you'd kind of be stupid to say that the Eagles can't win that game. But obviously, I'd like to see the Vikings be at home if they are to win. So I will be rooting for the Falcons because I would agree with Stacken. I think they're a weaker 6th seed than we usually see. I mean, I just think I'm not, and I realize we were just talking about the Bills and they were terrible, but I just think the Falcons, asking them to win 3 games and going to the Super Bowl, I don't think they're capable of that.
I think though they have more talent than almost any 6th seed.
Oh, absolutely.
They're just very inconsistent.
Yeah, they just, for some reason, they can't tap into whatever they need to tap into to make this all go. They did last night, and the defense for Atlanta was a big part of that. But it'd be one of those things where even against, I would say against the Saints, if they are to win, they will be in trouble.
I think Steve Sarkisian may be drinking as he's calling those plays, maybe.
Oh, boy.
Patriots, another tough opening game for them. They take on the Titans. Yeah, they never play anybody. They played Brock Osweiler last year, and here they're a 2-touchdown favorite. And you got Pittsburgh, Jacksonville. I'm intrigued. Jacksonville beat them. Jacksonville's defense is very good. Bottles, if you can just run, is every play run the ball. Literally no more than 10 passes from him. None pass the line of scrimmage.
Triple option.
Yes. None of where's Denard Robinson? Get him back in there. Let him do something. But their defense is very good. Pittsburgh shits the bed every now and then. So we'll see what happens with.
Is the key to this game Antonio Brown's health?
Yes.
Okay.
I would also say that I think this if it was annoying to me a quarterback scrambling, quarterback running. I would imagine Pittsburgh will be better at that, but that's sort of the extra trick that
You're a
the
little
Jaguars
choppy.
have. So the Steelers got no way to stop it. I will just target. Probably going to bore me. I am like you. I'm interested to see how the Jaguars do against the Steelers, but I think we want to see Steelers Patriots again. Let's make sure that's the AFC title game because those are the two teams I think that are most deserving of being in the Super Bowl on that side.
Oh, can you just imagine what CBS would do to avoid a Titans-Jaguars AFC Championship game?
It would be ugly.
They got to pay back NBC somehow for no Week 17 game. They say you do that. You do that game.
Since we were talking about the TV aspect, I think this is the second year in a row now that we've had 2 games for CBS in the divisional round, and it kind of makes me wonder that they always talk about ESPN getting the screws put to them. Why don't they just do another divisional round game so that every network gets one in the first 2 rounds? Doesn't that seem to make a lot more sense than?
Because Fox sucks.
I mean, I'm fine with the Aikman Buck team. Burkhardt and Charles Davis was the number 2. They were fine, but yeah, it's not ideal.
Why don't they put ABC, ESPN back in the Super Bowl rotation? ABC, ESPN doesn't get a Super Bowl.
Yeah, they don't want a Super
ABC.
Bowl on cable.
Put it on
but
ABC.
Now ABC's simulcasting all these games anyway. They're simulcasting the Pro Bowl. I would imagine that if ESPN does stay in business with the NFL, we could see that. It might be 10 years from now, but I think we could see that for sure.
Maybe Thursday Night Football on ABC.
Thursday Night Football on Twitter.
It would be nice if they, again, another pet peeve of mine, just find one spot to put Thursday Night Football. I advocate that you put it in just the weirdest spot.
Put it on all of them.
Put it on Spike TV.
TBS.
Put it on Animal Planet. Put PBS.
Oxygen.
Yes.
MLB Network?
MLB Network.
We TV.
Yeah. It's just like, let's put all the games, and I realize they have the NFL Network, but it's just like, put all the games in the same spot so that we can find them.
Or BBC. Put it on BBC.
Best game of the week next week, Saints and the Vikings. Vikings not a whole lot different. A little different quarterback, different running back than week 1. Saints, a little bit different. They got rid of the child beater, and all of a sudden they got good. Charlie, how excited are you for this game? Just as since on paper this should be awfully good.
I agree that of the 4, it's the most interesting. And there's a lot of interesting stuff going on where I think even though Case Keenum's had a good year, he's still not like a truly established multi-year guy. And you kind of wonder if in the playoffs he can keep it up. At the same time, the Saints have one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. But then you go the other end, the Vikings have a Super Bowl caliber defense. Well, I think the Saints are good defensively. I don't think they're like a truly elite defense. And then obviously the Vikings will have home field advantage. It's going to be really tough. I mean, certainly I'm not saying they're immortal or undefeatable, but getting points against that defense in Minneapolis is going to be really difficult to do. So I'm intrigued for that one. I would give the Vikings an edge, but yeah, I don't know. I think it looks quite interesting. Way more interesting than especially the Patriots and the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like the Saints are going to be able to run all that well against Minnesota. I am a little concerned about New Orleans passing against Minnesota, but Minnesota's pass defense was good all year, so you kind of have to just sort of trust that. And I think the Saints O-line is expected to be banged up ahead of next week, so I would give Minnesota a definite advantage in being able to get after Breeze. He can't really run around. The crowd noise should help. I just think I feel like it could be sort of like the 09 divisional round when they played Dallas.
Really?
Fuck,
that was...
I think things could sort of snowball. I don't think it'll be 34-6 or whatever the score was.
3.
I could definitely seen it be a 2-3 score game.
Nathan Stack, and I had him at 8-8. You had one like 11-5 or something like that. Vikings.
Yeah, that was the homer, and I think then I kind of went to 9-7. I was in between there.
Hedging your bets. It could not have.
It bracket.
Huh?
doing it like a March Madness bracket.
That's right. I may fill out 9 of them. Hopefully I get a couple right. I would prefer to play the Rams, but that ain't going to happen.
That is not an option anymore.
It's not an option. Cam Newton looked beat up. I was hesitant to play him, but he did fine, but he looked like he was hurting. That would have been fine.
I wanted to play him.
So you
for that Week 14 game.
I thought him coming to Minnesota and the defense getting another crack at him, he would have fell apart. And more importantly, his team would have fell apart around him. But the Saints did what they needed to do to advance. But I'm just, it's one of those things where like when they continue to win, you're going to get a little bit more nervous about your team's outcome. But it's just like this is the team that I feel like this whole season's been gravy. I will be just fine watching next week's game. You want them to win. I'll be upset if they lose, but it's one of those things where they should take care of business, I think.
Are you concerned at all, though,
Yes.
about the Vikings' offense the last couple of weeks? Keenum not being able to make those deep throws. Green Bay, I get it was a little cold and the field wasn't great. Chicago, it was kind of an uninspiring performance. Any sort of reason to be concerned about the offense there, or you think they'll get everything going against Lattimore and company?
I think it just kind of matters that if they can get the play action going, you get Thielen involved. I just want Diggs involved because he's better when he gets the ball early. If they've got those two guys going, I don't know what Rudolph. I know he's banged up. If they can get some of those key guys going early, I think they'll be fine.
I agree with you though that the Saints' offensive line is banged up. Andrews Pete, he's not going to play unless he somehow got someone else's leg because his is in a brace right now. His backup was a little banged up, so hopefully the Vikings can get 5 or 6 guys on Breeze at all times because when he was under pressure today, he didn't look very good. And granted, Carolina didn't get it all the time, but I just don't want Ted Ginn to burn Trey Waynes at all. That's the one fear I have.
I think the Vikings probably win a relatively low scoring, not as low scoring as Jacksonville and Buffalo, but a sort of low scoring game. Unless Drew Brees, who I think we can agree is obviously a future Hall of Famer, if he has a Hall of Fame game, just like one of those things that only 20 quarterbacks in history can do, if he has one of those games, that's how I think the Saints probably win. And he could, but I don't think he's going to have like a lights out game. I think he'll play fine, but Minnesota will do enough to win. I don't know. I'm going to say like 20-17.
So it won't be 29-19 like week 1.
There you go.
Not quite.
Carolina was the last good team they played. They gave up a bunch of points on the road. Bengals scored, got a good field position. Ted got an interception. Packers did not score on Christmas Eve, whenever the hell that was. Bengals, or the Bears, they scored on that punt return. Punt return got a field goal after that. The line defense was good. So the defense last 3 games has given up 1 touchdown. That's pretty good. It's setting up awfully nice. It really can't be set up any better than it is. With the Eagles quarterback getting hurt, you got the best defense you've had in 40 years. Super Bowls at home. Play the Saints. Stacking. Let's see. Marcus, you said to Vanderbeck the other night. Like you sound like you're enjoying this. It's very good.
Right.
Them winning. I'm just sitting back and saying, all right, how's it going to happen this time? What's going to happen this time? Who's Keenum 3 interceptions, kicker misses, whatever.
Right.
And I think you said if they get to the Super Bowl, then that's good. For me, if they get there, they gotta win. You cannot. If it's New England, Pittsburgh, whoever. If you get there, you gotta win.
I certainly understand that logic.
You're at home. You can't lose
You're
that.
the only team.
You
You're
can't
the only
lose
team
that.
in Super Bowl history that's ever been at home.
They're gonna be the road. They're gonna actually be the road team. NFC's the road team in the Super Bowl this year. So they'll be wearing, I guess, their white uniforms, I suppose, at home.
I guess so. And it is one of those things where, although I did hear that they will get, they'll get to use Winter Park, they'll get to
Normal, it'll be a normal game, normal week.
Yeah, essentially. Other than they may have to use the visitors' locker room. I don't know if that's going to happen.
That'd be dumb.
Or not, but that would be dumb. But it is one of those things where like I've never seen him play in the Super Bowl in my lifetime. You talked about it at the beginning. That I thought this was going to be an 8-8 team this year. I thought we were going to be going with Bradford. I kind of had a feeling he'd get hurt, and then you're turning it over to Keenum.
Why was that? Because he always gets hurt. That's why.
He always gets hurt. That's going to happen. And Keenum, to be frank, he hadn't shown
Not good.
that he could do what he's been doing. So I look at the type of season they have as being, gravy. But now we are in the playoffs now. It is a situation where the pressure's on, and you're going to have some guys in there that have never dealt with this before. So you got Keenum. You kind of got to watch him. Forbath has been he hasn't been perfect this year, so that is a little worrisome as well. But it is one of those things where, like you said, everything's set up for them to have success. They're the best team left in the NFC. I think they're going to get 2 home games. They're going to win those games, and then you get to the Super Bowl. I like their chances against the Patriots. I just think the Patriots. I realize that people are maybe nervous about playing a team that's been there all these times, but it's like they have not been perfect this year by any stretch of the imagination. And if you've got them at home, that's as good a chance as you're going to have at them. It's I don't know. I'm excited to see what happens. I don't know. I am just sort of willing to. I'm not looking for the big pitfall. I think that's just what some.
Oh my God! It's happened every time. Every fucking time it's happened.
But at some point, it has to not happen.
Maybe.
And I just think I'm not going to sit here looking for it. That's just.
Oh, I'm going to be fucking.
Yeah, that's your problem. So.
Exactly.
3 things.
3 things.
The stadium is going to be incredibly loud next week, like the loudest it's possibly ever been. So that
pump the crowd noise in. Do it.
Obviously, that's great. I think we can all be in agreement here that this game against the Saints is the more difficult of the 2 games, to get to the Super Bowl.
Well, get back to me after we watch the Falcons. Let's see how that goes. But I would agree. The Saints seem to be they seem to pose a threat.
We would like Atlanta to win that game, right? We would like Atlanta.
Yes.
Say it.
Yes, we would. We want that. But I mean, the Vikings could go to Philly and win.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially Nick Foles. The third thing being, I believe I said 3 years ago.
This was the year.
That the Vikings, when they were hosting the Super Bowl, were going to have that team, and they were going to put it together and play in their home stadium for the Super Bowl.
You even said Case Keenum's going to do it, too.
I did.
Well, yes.
I say that. You look at the team at the beginning of the year, and there was no. I mean, that offensively just didn't add up for them to be in the Super Bowl. So I congratulate Stacken for having the nuts to say, when he said that. But forgive me for 6 months ago not thinking this would be a Super Bowl team.
No, I totally understand that. Yeah. Totally get it.
And the fourth point, the child beater's not there, so fuck him.
That's right.
Great. Goddamn.
Weird how things got better once they got rid of him.
Weird how that happened. I love this little New England type McKinnon and Murray tandem here. I think that's goddamn fantastic.
I wonder, you bring that up, you said it, so I'm going to ask a question here, right? Everyone's looking at the quarterback conundrum that the Vikings are going to have in the offseason. Do they bring back Keenum, or they hitch their wagons to Teddy Bridgewater? Well, I'm not a fan of that. I think you got to stick with Keenum here, but maybe he's only as good as Pat Shermer, and then maybe you do let Keenum go. What do they do with the running back position? Are you going to keep Murray, Cook, and McKinnon?
Yeah. Murray's making peanuts. He's making what? It was a 2-year, $12 million deal or whatever.
Yeah.
May have been even an option for the next year. McKinnon's fantastic. Cook, I'm sure he'll bring him back slow. So to have guys fresh in that fourth quarter, I think that's a great idea. Have 2, 3 of them.
I just wondered if maybe they would look to trade Murray. I think Murray would be the obvious of the 3 that they would look to move on from, but you would bring all three back.
Stacken, I
Yes.
would give you the same advice that a 21-year-old college student that just bought his 4th pitcher of beer would say. That's tomorrow's problem. Enjoy the ride. You can worry about that in the future.
We'll see what happens.
That's a very good way of looking at it.
If the off season's next week, 2 weeks, or a month from now, then we'll decide who. If we got a white guy or the black guy at quarterback, and who's carrying the ball.
I would just say this. I can't. Oh, Texas is back.
Oh, how about it? Blue, 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 blue.
Damn it, Tom Herman.
Fucker.
I would say that Bradford's out. You can cross him out. And at the running back position, I don't think there's a guy you can cross out yet. I would be curious. I don't want to get rid of McKinnon, but of the 3 guys, he's probably the most market for him, right? So,
Yeah.
And what are you gonna get? Like a 5th round pick? I mean, right?
Yeah. I mean, You're not going to get
I want
a
the play.
lot for any of those guys, but
It doesn't make any sense.
The running back is probably the position I'm not as worried about. And
They got depth. Good.
My question is if you pay Bridgewater a decent salary, you pay Bridgewater and Keenum a decent salary, and see what happens. Because I feel like you can tell Bridgewater, hey, we're going to start with Keenum, but if he struggles, you're the guy. I mean, you can be the guy. I mean, it's just kind of one of those things where you got to ask Bridgewater if he's willing to ride it out. If he's not, he can go somewhere else, I guess.
And they can franchise Case
They
Keenum.
should franchise Keenum.
But that's
and
what
then
20 some million. It's a 1 year thing
Yeah,
for
that's a
20.
lot.
That's a lot of. That's a big. But if he wins the whole goddamn thing, I don't give a shit what they give him. I don't give a shit if they play another game, and I don't care if they play again. We're done. We're done.
Sign him to like a 4-year deal, then a 4-year, $50
Dude.
million deal.
Just shut the team down if they win.
I don't give a fuck what they do. They can move to fucking Alaska. All I give a shit. They can move to Mobridge. Fuck what they do if they win.
What would the attendance be like in Mobridge?
Yeah, 2,000.
All right, Vikings question. 34% of this is to be a smartass. 33% of it's a serious question, and 33% of it is to be a little tiny bit of a dick. What if the Vikings lose 21-17 to the Saints? And this is just like all for naught.
It'd be a big disappointment.
It's gonna suck, yeah. That's gonna. But
The defense.
I guess
defense.
the part of this is that if there's like a huge back-breaking Vikings-like moment, that's gonna hurt more than if the Saints just flat out beat them. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
Like the Vikings
I
are
guess
better.
I would say the bright side would be is even if they lose, as long as, Zimmer's got at least one eye that works and some things like that. But they at least have, and some other pieces to continue to be good.
Let's see. This feels more like 98 than 09. But I wanted just on the opposite side of the ball. Best offense, best defense. 09 was fun. Favre was great. I wanted to play the Saints. I think the Vikings were better than the Saints. And they fumbled that fucking away. They did. 98, you just look at it and say, yeah, Cardinals, okay, yeah, we'll beat fucking Jake Plummer. Sure, okay. Falcons 14-2, yeah, we'll take you down too, and that didn't happen. So I look at 98 and like, yeah, they'll go to the Super Bowl. I look at this year and I say, Saints, yeah, I should beat them. Falcons, Eagles, yeah, they should probably beat them. I mean, they're 98. The Vikings were the favorite in 98 to get there. They are the, I'd say the Saints were the favorite in 09. Vikings are the favorite to get there this year. So drink to that. Hopefully that the last one is the Vikings.
Yep.
Or maybe
one team. If one team can win a championship this year wearing purple,
Texas is back.
Yes.
Obviously, JMU couldn't do it Saturday. Texas is still back.
Oh, damn it.
It's worse than ever. Texas is worse than